Okay, hi guys. It's been a tumultuous time as we build up to the equinox eclipse. I've done quite a few videos on that. I've looked at the Charlie Kirk assassination and whole situation in the UK with the rally tomorrow, Starmer, etc. If you're interested, please check those out because I know you guys don't always have notifications. Thanks for all the brilliant engagement, by the way. Hope you're enjoying these. Now, I wanted to look at the chart of Iryna Zaratzka. That was the Ukrainian girl who was murdered on the train in Charlotte, right? So her birth date is the 22nd of May, 2002. It's a lot of twos, isn't it? And she died on the 22nd, again, that number, 22 of August, 2025. So again, we've got the twos and the fives coming up there. So I thought those were quite interesting dates from the beginning. We talked in the Charlie Kirk assassination about 22 being the number of kill or be killed. It seems to be rather karmic number. And 22 is also the number of someone who is blinded until it's too late. Someone who doesn't see the danger until it's too late is the number 22. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at the chart, which is over here. And I also want to mention at the end that to provide two perspectives here. From the chart, it really does look like this was an unfortunate karma and that she was murdered. From the video footage that emerged, I did have my doubts about the authenticity. So I will mention those. So it's up to you to decide, guys. I'm just going to mention my thoughts because this is a channel where we think about things, think deeply about things, and we don't have to, agree on everything or come to the same conclusions, but let's get it all out there. So, okay, we've got Iryna's chart. Obviously, we don't know her time. I did put a birth date for Kiev, right? For Ukraine, we don't need to be accurate on that because we don't know her time anyway. But I did think possibly her ascendant was Libra, right? But we don't really even need that because look how much is going on. For a start, natally, she has Saturn opposite Pluto exactly, not exactly, but well, it is. Saturn is at 16 degrees of Gemini opposite Pluto at 16 degrees of Sagittarius. Pluto conjunct the South Node, the unlucky South Node. People with Pluto on South Node often attract fateful, dramatic, and catastrophic events into their life. People with Pluto on the South Node also often become symbols of something bigger in society, and she has actually become a symptom of something more politically based, wider in society. So it's almost like the plight that they are part of is part of something much bigger that society is going through. Saturn is conjunct her North Node, right? She's got a stellium in Gemini with Sun, Mercury, Saturn, North Node, and Mars all in Gemini. Now let's quickly look at Venus as at 2 degrees of Cancer, which is being opposed by that very same Saturn-Neptune conjunction that was squaring Charlie Kirk's Venus, right? He's a Libra. Venus is his ruling planet, and he had that very nefarious Saturn-Neptune conjunction squaring his Venus. She's got the nefarious Saturn conjunction opposing her Venus in Cancer, which we think could be her chart ruler, being if Libra is on her ascendant, right? What else she had that day was Uranus, which is in the 1 degree of Gemini, exactly conjunct her Sun. Uranus is something shocking, surprising, something she didn't see coming, something that would totally change her life. Well, by causing her death, right? Very, very strange. Mercury retrograde on the day she died, which was the 22nd of August, just to repeat, was at 10 degrees of Leo, which was exactly opposite her Neptune in 10 degrees of Aquarius. Isn't that interesting? Neptune being loss, being sort of a victim of crime. Mercury retrograde in Leo, misfortune during traveling and transport. And we also have Sun at 29 degrees of... Sun at 29 degrees of Leo is exactly opposite her Uranus. So again, the Uranus theme, something that's shocking, surprising, comes out of the blue. And Mars, which is at 9 degrees of Libra, is conjunct her moon. Obviously, the moon could move around depending on time, but Mars conjunct moon is violence, an attack against the person, right? Someone else acting in the heat of the moment spontaneously. So look at all that. We've got Mercury, Sun, Mars, Uranus, and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, all extremely active in her chart. Okay, also Jupiter it's pretty near conjunction with her natal Jupiter, just showing that, you know, sometimes Jupiter leads to extremes and not always to something good. I would like to read something here that it says about her Saturn opposite Pluto being very exact and being exact across the nodes. All right. This opposition shows serious karmic problems. The natives can be the perpetrators or the victims of oppression, cruelty, and harsh treatment, usually because of their personal connection with the adverse conditions of mass destiny, which thwart their ambitions and endanger their safety. Isn't that interesting? She's a victim because of the situation in Ukraine, which is part of some mass geopolitical event that she has nothing to do with it, but she's a victim of it. She comes to America and is victim of a racially aggravated crime, which has a history rooted in America and maybe slavery, which has nothing to do with her. Pluto on the South Node, she's also become part of a mass consciousness and awareness. She's become a huge news story, and she's become also something that's really radicalized a lot of people. Pluto being something that's very radical. Pluto opposite Saturn is very political as well. So Saturn obviously is symbolic of the Grim Reaper. It brings a lot of misfortune, and it can also indicate someone who's had severe bad luck in their life, cruelty, being caught up in a war. Interesting, caught up in wars or unjustly imprisoned are likely to have this opposition. Well, obviously she's not unjustly imprisoned, but these are the ramifications it can have. Its effects are not strongly noticeable unless the opposition spans an angular house or obviously are afflicted by other planets. In this case, the nodes are amplifying it. So look, a lot of people have a Saturn opposite Pluto. They're not going to have these extreme things, but her conjunction was very tight and it straddles the nodes. It says sometimes the deaths of the natives are fated in a peculiar way. The natives are thwarted in self-expression and creative self-development, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I just found that the level of karma, the level of connection to sort of some mass consciousness event or mass political event is also extremely interesting. Just to mention, it's Moon in Libra, Pluto in Sagittarius, Neptune and Uranus in Aquarius, and this stellium in Gemini, with Venus, the 2 degrees of Cancer, Jupiter, the 14 degrees of Cancer. But there were a few things that struck me odd. First of all, no timestamps on any of the footage. Also, when they showed video of the perpetrator, in one sequence, he opens the flick knife as he's sitting behind her. In one sequence, it looks like he strikes once. In another sequence, it looks like there's 3 motions of striking. So what are we to make of that? The next thing is, although she appears to be struck in the neck, when she twists like this, there's absolutely no blood on her face, her neck. There's nothing on her hands, right? No blood spatter going towards the back or the rear that lands. Nothing to the right of her that would land anywhere on the back of the seat or that side. That's odd after such a violent attack. Now, I remember when Monica Seles was stabbed at the Hamburg Open by a crazed fan of Steffi Graf, and he came on during a break and stabbed her between the shoulder blades. Her reaction, that's the most similar circumstance I could think of that would have been televised. Her reaction was immediately to grimace and to go back and touch the wound, right? And she shrieked out 3 times. This lady doesn't shriek. She goes like this. She covers her face like she wants to cry, but she doesn't touch any wound anywhere, which is the natural instinctive thing to do. She looks more like she just wants to sob, like you would if your boyfriend dumped you. You know, it's more of that sort of reaction. And then she has a quick, glance over there to the other people, not at the perp, because he's walked forward. So I thought that was odd. As she kind of rolls over, collapsing, there's blood on the seat under her. How on earth did the blood get under her? And as she turns, there's no blood on the back of her pants. So how could there be blood directly under where she's sitting if there's no blood anywhere else? But the perpetrator then walks up and down the carriage, dripping blood everywhere. Now, I know often they say when you stab someone, the knife goes back in your hand and cuts your hand, right? So, he could have cut his hand if he'd done it. But, there were a few anomalies. I'd like them explained. Those didn't really make a lot of sense to me. The chart looks like this is 100% authentic, right? But the footage and the lack of blood and her strange reaction initially and that all was a little bit odd to me. Please give me your thoughts.